EdoBest. One woman who knows best about EdoBest is Dr. Joan Oveawe, who is live for us virtually. Let me remind you, everyone, what happened here. The SSG, the Secretary to the Government of Edo State, and on this program said EdoBest was a fraud and was a sham of a program under Obaseki when he was governor. Let me remind you what happened on this program a few days ago.
The whole concept of EdoBest was a scam. It was nothing but PR to access World Bank's 75 billion grant. That's the summary. If you want to see the facts, you come to Edo State, you see the facts on the ground. No infrastructure, no teachers, no personnel. In schools in big local governments like Oredo and Okpebholo, you have no classrooms, no schools, no desk, no windows, no teachers. You buy a tab that needs power, no internet, and you say you are doing EdoBest. EdoBest was nothing but tabs that was displayed in 3 local governments when there are 18 local governments.
All right, Dr. Oveawe was the Commissioner for Education when Governor Obaseki was at the helm of affairs, was the governor of Edo State. Doctor, you oversaw a sham and a fraud. That's how the SSG described it. How do you defend this?
Thank you, Sean, for inviting me. I think that if we hope to move forward as a state, as a country, we cannot afford to politicize education. EdoBest was not and is not a sham. I wish the SSG, the current SSG of Edo State, would go back and look through the copious documents and reports that were left behind, so that he's duly informed about what it is that we did. When Governor Obaseki was sworn into office in November 2016, the first place the then governor visited was Benin Technical College. After that, he went to the Edo State College of Agriculture, Igoriaki. And why did he do that? Governor Obaseki was very clear from the very beginning that education was going to be a priority for him. And he said that if he had 100 naira, he was going to spend 40 naira on education. And so almost 100 days later, from when he was sworn into office, there was a workshop on basic education. And then there were a series of other workshops on other sectors of the state that the government wanted to focus on. So far now, this current administration in Edo is approaching 100 days in office. We don't know what they are planning to replace EdoBest with. When we came into office in 2016, we met very poor learning outcomes. Teachers were not going to school. Students were not learning. Pupils were in primary 6, getting ready to write the primary 6 exam, and they could not read and write. And so we had to put together a plan to address every facet of education in Edo. And we came up with the 6 pillars of EdoBest, Edo Basic Education Sector Transformation. And the pillars went from governance, using technology, stakeholders engagement, all the way to learning outcomes, to learning assessment, to school environment and infrastructure, and then value. So these are the things we did over the
Dr. Oveawe, let me ask some very direct and basic questions. So in terms of teacher recruitment, in all the years EdoBest, because EdoBest was meant to be a program which is supposed to help to retool teachers, to engage young minds and students to get them back to classroom, and also to uplift infrastructure in Edo State, basically. But in terms of teacher recruitment, how many teachers did EdoBest get?
5,000 teachers were recruited under Governor Obaseki, and an additional 3,000 teachers were going through the process. And when this current administration came in, I believe they disengaged all of them. So if they are saying that there aren't enough teachers in schools now in Edo State, what happened to the 5,000 that Governor Obaseki recruited under the Edo Star Teachers Fellows Program?
Were these recruitment done on a permanent basis, or they were done on contract as a contract teacher for Edo education system, or what? As
part of our EdoBest education reform, we realized that it was important the quality of the teacher in the classroom is the main ingredient that would positively impact learning outcomes. So what we did in 2020 was to introduce a teacher induction program called EdoStar, Edo Supporting Teachers to Achieve Results. The whole idea was that these fellows will teach for 2 years. After 2 years, based on performance, they will then be permanented. So it was an induction process, the most successful thus far in the whole of West Africa. So they've come in and they've practically dismantled everything, don't understand what's behind, and they're making all kinds of unfounded claims.
So EdoBest was launched in 2018, am I right? And
Absolutely.
it spanned through the years Governor Obaseki was in office, and it was supposed to be a flagship governance program or policy direction of the Obaseki government. So if you were to rate it, in 2018, how was Edo State rated in terms of education? And when Governor Obaseki left office, what was the rating? Can you tell us?
In 2018, like I said earlier, the indicators were quite poor for Edo State. Learning outcomes was very poor. Literacy rate was very low. Teachers' absenteeism was quite high. Teachers' morale was low. When Governor Obaseki came into office, it met on ground the fact that what they call teachers' special allowance, which is a monthly allowance that government pays to teachers on top of their salary, had been stopped in 2012. It met on ground that teachers had not been promoted in Edo since 2011. It also met on ground that the teachers' leave transport grant, which is a lump sum payment they get on the anniversary of their recruitment into service, had also been stopped in 2012. There were no subventions to schools. All of those were stopped in 2012. And then on top of that, no teachers had been hired in Edo since 2008. So these were all the things that the governor had to tackle head on.
So let me ask quickly, Dr. Ovawe, as it stands right now, when Governor Obaseki left office, the dropout rate in Edo State was over 20%. Out of school rate for the upper secondary school was over 20%. How do you defend this rate?
So you have to look at what did we meet on ground. And for us, when we came in, we started with, in 2018, the reform started with basic education, just primary 1 to 6. And then by 2021, we had done enough work that we could then expand to secondary schools and technical colleges. So between 2021 and 2024, when Governor Obaseki left office, a lot of significant progress had been made in secondary and technical education as well. So the indexes are all there, the indicators are all there. Under Governor Obaseki, Edo State was named the state with the lowest out-of-school children in Nigeria. And that was not by fluke.
What about the pass rate? What about the examination pass rate? Let's use WAEC, for example. What was the rating? Where does Edo State stand in 2018 and in 2024?
2018, there were lots of issues with miracle centers, exam malpractice, and all of those things. We came in, we cleaned up all of that, put in place using technology, by the way, and ensuring that teachers were in class and teaching, and that we're covering the curriculum and providing a very robust co-curricular activities to all our students. So schools became more exciting, and we saw that in learning gains. We saw that in the fact that by the time Governor Obaseki was leaving office, Edo State Secondary School and TVET students were performing top 2 in WAEC in the country. So the indicators are there, like I would keep saying.
What happened then, Dr. Joan, that there are classrooms that are even animals find it difficult to stay in Edo State, and these are supposed to be classrooms for learning. Infrastructures are dilapidated in Edo State. What happened? These are some of the legacies left behind. What happened?
Infrastructure. We inherited a huge inventory of dilapidated schools across Edo State. Edo has about 1,400 basic schools, 300 secondary schools, 5 technical schools, and 6 tertiary institution. Governor Bateki touched all of them. Over 55% of our primary schools were renovated or rebuilt. And it wasn't just focusing on classroom. It was the other amenities, playground.
But it was not able to fix most of them, because in almost every local government there are people who will put up pictures of how schools were, classrooms and infrastructure in schools in Edo State as led by the Obaseki government. Was it that the funds were not enough, or the infrastructure, the ball was dropped at some point?
Well, like I mentioned, we have about 1,400 primary schools. It's not possible for one government, and these schools have been decayed for over 40 years. So it wasn't possible for one government, who was also working in other sectors, in health, primary health care, in institutional reform, in civil service reform, in economic revolution. The governor was doing a lot, the administration was doing a lot of things simultaneously. But at least in all that we did, we were able to renovate, rebuild over 60% of the basic schools in Edo State.
So you disagree with the Edo State government's position of the performance of the Obaseki government in education, Dr. Yohan?
Oh, absolutely. Again, it's not just what I'm saying or what they are saying. You look at Lagos State, for example. Lagos State decided to adopt EdoBest, and they came up with a co-excel. Rwanda came in, understudied what we did. And when we talk about even the World Bank funds, we started EdoBest in 2018. The World Bank fund didn't come until 2022. So the work was already being done.
Dr. Duan, thank you so much, Jose. Madam Education, the Commissioner for Education under Obaseki administration. Thank you so much indeed. You've got a right of reply tonight on the issue of EdoBest. Thank you so much indeed.
Thank you.